be careful who you surround yourself with. Because we are like chameleons and we absorb through the skin the attitudes, the opinions, and behaviors of the people that we associate with. So that can have a super positive effect on you, but as you probably now understand, it can also have a negative effect on you. Do you consider yourself a high achiever? Smart, driven, highly successful? I am so excited to have you. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm the host of the Stress Podcast. I will help you develop your stress resilience the same way you've developed your workplace superpowers. Learn peak performance tools to thrive at work and in your personal life. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to the Stress Podcast. I am your host, Julia Arndt, and I am so excited that you have taken this time for you and I to sit down or walk and listen to this podcast episode today. So no matter if you're sitting in a car listening to this podcast episode, or you're sitting in front of your computer and you're watching this episode on YouTube, or maybe you're even walking through the woods or through town and you're listening to this podcast episode, hi and welcome. I'm so excited to have you with me today, and I'm so excited to chat with you about something that's been really on my mind and something that's been really wanting to come out of me, something that I've been really wanting to share over the last couple of weeks. And interestingly enough, as things always align, I had a friend send a reel to me about this topic this last weekend that actually supported the idea that I've been having with a couple of different neuroscientific research-driven facts as well. And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. And I really absolutely need to sit down and record this podcast episode because I want you to know this. And I want to share with you what of a profound impact this had on me once I became more aware of it. And we are talking today about who do you surround yourself with and the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So this is the topic that I want to share with you today. And before we jump in, I just want to say a couple of different things because it's always on my mind and I want you to know that I'm here for you. So first of all, I am still taking on a couple of new corporate clients. If you are working for a company and you feel like it would be really beneficial and helpful for your team or for your organization to have kind of a performance productivity rehaul, and you are interested in helping your employees and your team and your organization avoid burnout, and you are really interested in the nervous system and what nervous system regulation actually has to do with performance and productivity management, and what that also has to do with happier and more engaged employees, then I would really love to hear from you. And I would love to just simply jump on a call and chat with you about what's currently going on and how I can potentially support. I've been doing these kind of conversations over the last couple of weeks, and so many powerful things came out of these conversations. We've talked a lot about cost of attrition, so the cost of employees leaving the company and how much that offsets that when you are actually starting to invest in your workforce and in your employees and in your team and in your organization. So if this resonates with you, well, don't hesitate any longer. I'm not biting, and I am just here to share with you what I have to share, and we'll see if there is some alignment and if there is some way I can help you. That is the first important thing. So if you are here and if you're listening to this right now and you're like, yep, absolutely, Julia, I would love to chat with you, make sure that you reach out to me simply via email. Shoot me an email, julia@peakperformancemethod.com, and we can chat. Secondly, if you are curious about coaching, maybe you've been listening to this podcast for a while and you have been maybe hearing a lot of things and thinking about a lot of things, but you're not really getting into action. You feel like there are things that are blocking you. You feel like Yeah, there's just something within you that keeps you procrastinating instead of getting into action because you know a lot of things and you are aware of a lot of things. But yeah, something is just holding you back. Then I would also really love to chat with you because this is the work that I do and this is what I'm absolutely passionate about. I love to help you make changes in your life. And I'm here to support you along the way. So, again, if this resonates with you, and if you're like, oh, I've been looking for a coach and I don't know who to work with, or I don't really know what coaching looks like because I've never had a coach in the past, then again, just reach out to me and let's have a chat. Let's talk about what you're currently going through. It doesn't matter if you are thinking about a career change, or if you're looking for your next career step, or if you're feeling super burnt out at the moment in your job, in your personal life, it doesn't really matter. I'm here for it all because everything is interconnected and everything has an impact on us and as a human being. So again, I would really love to hear from you. Shoot me an email. Let's schedule some time. Let's jump on a call and let's just have a conversation and see where it goes. So, those are my two big announcements today. And then finally, if you are curious to better plan your life and you also have trouble with that, maybe you feel like, again, you know that there are certain tools available, but you're not really getting into it. You're not really finding the time and space to finally get started. Then I deeply, deeply, and hopefully invite you to Plan Your Week with Julia, my weekly call to help you create a new productivity habit. This happens every Monday at 8 a.m. PST, so California time. And it doesn't matter if you are starting your week on a Monday morning and you're maybe in Europe, or you're starting your day in Australia and it's maybe already Tuesday morning by the time that you jump on this call. It doesn't matter. I am here for you to help you build new habits and routines. I am so passionate about this, and I would say I'm pretty good about it. I've learned a lot of things along the way over the last 4.5 years since I started this business, and since I've been supporting over 10,000 people in this new habit building process. And so I would love to help you. This is a free 30-minute call, and I teach you in a very simple way how to plan your week. These 30 minutes are your time. They are your investment in yourself. So I truly, truly hope that you will join us there. The link to register for the Plan Your Week with Julia sessions is in the show notes here in the podcast. So make sure to click the link. Make sure that you show up. It's always really interesting. I have so many people that register and then so little people that actually show up for themselves. And it's a free session. Nobody is biting you. There's nothing that can happen to you except that you can grow and learn from this opportunity and from this experience. So I really, really hope to see you there. I hope I can support you in that manner. And yeah, that's all I wanted to share for the beginning of the podcast episode. So I would say now, let's jump into the main part of our podcast episode today, and let's chat about who do you surround yourself with. Hello, hello, and welcome. I am so excited to talk with you now, finally, about this topic that I have already announced so big during the intro. I want to talk with you about who do you surround yourself with. And as I already mentioned, a friend of mine shared a reel with me this weekend on Instagram, and it talked about a Harvard study that found that 99% of your success depends on this one simple thing. This Harvard study was done by a guy named David, and David actually researched this for 25 years. 25 years. 25 years of research, and there was one common denominator. And you may already guess it, but that one common denominator was the following. He says that 99% of your success depends on your reference group. They can actually completely transform you. the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act by simply surrounding yourself with these people. Wow. Let's breathe into this for a moment. Isn't this so powerful and so cool? This is a really, really important fact that I want you to sit with and that I really want you to start thinking about. Who do you surround yourself with? And so, as I already mentioned to you, this has been something that's been on my mind for weeks now, before I even knew the study. And here's why. I want to share with you why this has had, again, such an impactful impact, for lack of better word, so much impact on me in my past couple of weeks. And this is not something that I've thought of or heard of for the first time a couple of weeks ago. I've actually heard about this idea years and years ago, probably on a podcast that I listened to, where they also talked about, who do you surround yourself with? Who are the 5 people that you surround yourself with on a regular basis? And they obviously change over the course of time, right? So it's always good to check in. So maybe you have heard of this idea before, but you haven't maybe thought about who you surround yourself with recently. So this is your friendly reminder to do a little quick check in your head to say, who am I actually surrounding myself with? And what kind of impact do they have on me? All right. So let me talk a little bit about who I have been surrounding myself with over the last couple of weeks and what kind of impact that had on my own life. There's 2 people in particular that I'm thinking about here. And the first person is somebody that I'm actually not 100% sure if I've already mentioned it to you here on the podcast. I know that I've already mentioned it on my YouTube video, Plan with Me, the monthly planning video that I'm bringing out every month at the beginning of the month, but I haven't shared it with you yet. I actually made a huge, and I'm talking about a 5-figure huge investment in myself this summer, and I hired a business coach. After 4.5 years of coaching and 4.5 years of preaching that coaching is the best thing ever and that it is so helpful to surround yourself with coaches and people that are talking about ideas that can help you move forward in your life, I have finally found the person that I wanted to surround myself with. And after only a few weeks, I can tell you that it's had the most profound, deep, strong impact on me. Because not only did I make this investment in myself, and it's put a huge fire under my own behind, my backside, to actually get going and to stand up for myself and to do things differently to how I've been doing them before. And it's just been such a transformational thing for me that I'm, laughing a little bit about myself, thinking, why haven't I made this investment in myself earlier? But, I trust the time of things and the timing of things. And this summer was just the perfect time to start working with this coach. I signed up for a year, so there's still a lot of way to go with her. And she's just so incredible. And I have changed and shifted so much already myself in such a short period of time. So this investment has already been absolutely priceless and worth it because you might already even hear it just listening to me. I feel so much more confident in myself because I got up and I invested this in myself. I believe in myself enough to say, I can make this big investment in myself, and I know that it will absolutely come around, and I don't have to be afraid of that. And that's been so empowering. So why do I tell you this during this topic, right? Who do you surround yourself with? Well, pretty simple. I've been talking to my coach nearly every day because we have a container that supports that. We actually talk for an hour once a week. We have a set appointment. And at the same time, we are talking throughout the week. We have constantly check-ins. I constantly get feedback from her on the conversations that I have with clients, on the way of how I am building my business strategy and my business in general. And I talk with her about personal things and my personal relationships. And wow, man, has had that much of an impact on my life in such a short period of time. And I know that sometimes we are so afraid of going out there and getting out of our comfort zone because, man, have I been so uncomfortable over the last couple of weeks. It's been really uncomfortable to make this huge investment in myself. It's been really uncomfortable to talk and convince some of my loved ones about this investment. And it's been really uncomfortable to show up differently to my new clients, to show up differently to my existing clients, to show up differently to my corporate clients. And yet I know that this has been coming for a very long time. And I needed that imaginary kind of kick in the butt myself by making that investment in myself to say, okay, I'm actually ready for it and I'm here for it. And I am done keeping myself small, and I'm done kind of staying in this little kind of space. I want to grow. I want to reach more people. I want to really help people. I don't want to just be someone that somebody checks a box on, which unfortunately sometimes happens in the corporate world when they get their well-being feedback surveys and, you know, the well-being is really negative or really bad. And so they hire me for a 1-hour workshop and check the box. And I'm done with that. Those are like these big decisions that I've made over the past couple of weeks, because already months really, but you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of time between reflecting on things and actually taking action. And so yeah, it's been so powerful. And now I have corporates invest in me and in their teams for a year, at least for 6 months, but usually for a year, because this is how you bring in change. Change doesn't happen overnight. And this has been something, I'm going to record another podcast episode about this, I promise, because that's a really important topic to talk about. Change takes time. I've been doing this work for 4.5 years, and there's not a day that goes by where I don't learn something new, where I don't stretch myself, where I don't have new realizations because of the experiments that I'm running on myself, right? Because I'm trying out new things. And it's just by trial and error that I also understand what works for me, what doesn't work for me. It's only through going deep, deep, deep back into my childhood and into just kind of the things that happened in my life over the course of my lifetime that I realized, well, there's still things to work through. And it requires time. You don't go to the gym once and you have a six-pack, right? I mean, it's so simple. We all know this. And yet we think, especially when it comes to personal growth and development, we think, well, I'll go there once. I go into this bad experience on this past traumatic event once. I look at it. I feel some emotions. I'll go out of it and I'm healed. Oh man, I wish so much that that would be that easy, but it's not. And so I've been having to get really uncomfortable again to heal more of that, because after 3 years, after 2 years, after 1 year, even after 6 months, I'm a different person again. And so that's been such an important and powerful realization for me to say, yeah. And you know, only when I can experience that on myself can I help my clients with that as well. So that's been so, so cool. So that's person number one that I've been surrounding myself with for the last couple of weeks. And it has had such a profound impact on me that I thought about, wow, it's really who you surround yourself with, because this person that I hired is absolutely badass. And she's got her shit together and she's making millions and she has multiple businesses. And this is the person that I want to surround myself with, because that's who I want to be. Person number 2. I do want to talk to you about my friend Reve, who just visited me here in Lake Tahoe 2 weeks ago. And she's an absolute badass when it comes to exercise. She's basically a professional biking athlete. She bikes about 16 hours a week and over 300 kilometers a week. And she's just absolutely incredible. Hi, Reve, if you're listening to this right now, I love you. But she stayed with me for a week. And after just a few days, seeing how she was just going about her day, how she planned her breakfast and how she planned her ride in order to actually get 2 to 3 hours of bike riding into her workday. It's incredible, because it can absolutely 100% happen. We always have these limited ideas and notions of 2 hours or 3 hours of exercise a day. Impossible. Let me tell you, I actually have another person on my mind. One of my very, very first podcast guest on the Stress podcast, Derek de Korver. He is an Ironman, and he worked for Google at the time when I still worked at Google and started the podcast. And he was an Ironman next to his full-time job. And he worked out 3 hours a day is probably not enough. And he was very successful, both in his professional career and in his personal career. And so anyway, so I spent time with Reve over the course of the week, and we were hanging out in the house. I was working, she was working, and she was getting ready for her bike rides and exercising, right? Like doing 10-minute warm up and abs exercises. And of course I joined in, not always, because there were still these like excuses that I had on the back of my mind that I didn't have time for these things and that I didn't have the energy for these things and so on, right? All of the different excuses that you probably know just as well as I do, that we always come up with when we are presented with new opportunities. But a few days I did it. And it already had such a profound effect on me that I was thinking to myself, man, the people that you surround yourself with. If Reve would live in my household all the time, I'd be a really fit person. It's kind of sad, right? But it really, really inspired me to go out for myself and to not just need to have a Reve around me in order to be active and healthy every single day, but to do it on my own, because she kind of kicked that old habit out of the way a little bit, and she inspired me to show me how it can actually be when you just invest in yourself. And so again, I thought to myself, the people that you surround yourself with, such a powerful concept. It's so cool that this new person that comes into your life, even just for a short period of time, can have such a profound impact on you. And then my other friend, Sarah, shared with me that reel on Instagram. And I was like, 100%. Now I totally get it. Now it's been supported by research that 99% of your success depends on your reference group. And here's the next important fact on this. Our relationships determine 85% if you are happy or unhappy in life. So here is the message that I want to share with you today. Be careful who you surround yourself with, because we are like chameleons and we absorb through the skin the attitudes, the opinions, and behaviors of the people that we associate with. Super cool, no? So that can have a super positive effect on you, but as you probably now understand, it can also have a negative effect on you. And it reminds me of another powerful conversation I had with a client at the beginning of the year. He's a lawyer in Germany, and he hired me and went through the Peak Performance Method program. And one of his most profound takeaways. Going through the program, which, by the way, does not talk about who do you surround yourself with, but this is still the essence, which I love so much, because sometimes you don't have to talk about these things in particular and you still understand it. You still understand the energy around it. In one of our sessions, he said to me, I had the realization that I have this one coworker that is so negative. And every time he calls me and he wants to talk about a job or about a project, all he does is complain. All he does is be negative and emotional and just not the someone that I actually want to surround myself with. I actually realized, he said to me, that this person has a negative impact on my life, because after I talk to him for 45 minutes to an hour, I feel really negative and I feel not good about myself. And I said to him, I am so glad that you had this realization, and I'm so proud of you for having this awareness. And maybe you, as you're listening to this podcast right now, you have the exact same realization. Maybe you are already thinking about one or two people in your life that are the same way. And so I said to him, to my client, I said to him, so what are you going to do about this? Are you going to talk to that person? Are you going to, take a step away from this person? And he said to me, well, I've actually already told him now a few times that he's pretty negative and that he complains all the time and that doesn't really make me feel good. And the next step, because that person did not change just because he said that to him, was for him to be more careful when he actually picked up the phone, because he saw when that person was calling him. And he said to me, well, I decided to become a little bit more picky about when I'm going to talk to this person. When I already feel stressed and I have a lot of stuff on my table, I'm not going to pick up the phone. I am actually going to wait for a moment where I feel in a better space. And I will also try, first of all, limit the time that I talk to him and not engage in this complaining negative talk, because it's not helpful and it makes me not feel better. And that's exactly what I want to instill in you today. Sometimes it is difficult to remove yourself from these energy sucking vampires or those pessimistic people, right? Sometimes it's hard. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's your boss. And so you might wonder right now, okay, Julia, I get the concept, but what am I going to do about that, right? Because it's sometimes difficult to just step away, right? And I'm going to share with you a personal example. I have a dad, just like you, right? We all have a dad, but I have a dad that is a pretty pessimistic, complainy person. And I love my dad to my core. And at the same time, sometimes he's pretty difficult to be around. Now, I live in California, he lives in Germany. So that already helps a little bit with distancing myself a little bit from that side, right? But when I see my dad or when I talk to my dad, he always starts specifically about the politics in Germany. And it's the most fascinating thing, because every time he starts talking about German politics, he gets outraged. And he gets super pessimistic and super negative, and he complains about all of these different people and tells me all these different stories that I don't really know about, because I'm not really paying attention to the German politics or watch the news for that matter. Which is kind of a good thing, honestly, because I can't engage actually in that conversation with him because I don't really have a lot of information. The only information that I have is the stuff that I receive from my dad. And so I let him talk and I listen and I nod my head and I say, And then when he's done with his rant, I change the subject. Because I couldn't, honestly, full transparency, couldn't care less about German politics, in a way, right? I'm a little bit removed from that because I live in California, and I understand, that he's upset about it, and I understand the general concept, but I don't want to talk with him about this, because you cannot have a neutral conversation with him, because he has such a specific opinion about it. And his opinion is so set in stone that no matter what I would say, he would try to convince me otherwise. And so I've tried this many times in the past, which is why now I have that wisdom to not engage in these conversations with him anymore, because I've also worked on myself, and I've learned that negative news just not helpful for my energy. And so I changed the subject. So my dad, as I said, I love him and I appreciate him so much, and I know he would always be there for me no matter what happens to me. There are just some things that I don't engage in with him. And so this is one thing that you can do, right? So let's talk a little bit about strategies and about things that you can do in order to be more mindful of who you surround yourself with. So if it is a close family member or a coworker or a manager, you don't have to engage. You don't have to engage in the conversation, because very quickly these people will also learn that it's not that fun to talk to you about that particular subject, because you don't engage. You don't feed into their negative story. That takes a little bit of self-control maybe, or practice to stay in your power, but it's absolutely possible. And then obviously the next step would be that you can also remove yourself from certain people, right? Maybe you think of a person right now that is surrounding you, but it's not a person that's really helpful anymore in your life, right? That's just is very negative, and you don't want to surround yourself with that energy anymore. Don't be afraid to set that boundary. Don't be afraid to slowly distance yourself from that person. This might be difficult, and this might be heartbreaking or really sad, and I totally understand that. And sometimes in life, there are times where you keep on developing yourself, especially when you're listening to podcasts like mine, where you learn about personal development and growth, and you start to see things differently. And other people in your life might not make those kind of investments in themselves, so they stay a little bit behind in a way. They stay stuck in those old stories. They don't let new things in. And that's super, super hard and sad. And again, I talk about this from experience. I've definitely had this happen multiple times in my life and over the course of my lifetime, where people that were really close to me just didn't progress in the direction that I progressed in. And so we started to have less things in common, and then just things slowly fizzled out. And I still love these people, and we still talk sometimes, but not that often anymore, So that's kind of, the sad part. I hope I didn't make you sad, but it's important to talk about, right? So let's sit with that for a moment. Let's take a deep breath into that. But the cool thing is, you get to choose who you surround yourself with. And when I listened and learned about this concept the first time, which I told you is already many years ago, at the time, didn't feel like I had a lot of people in my close vicinity that actually were people that I wanted to surround myself with. So what did I do? And what can you do if that is the case for you as well? You can listen to podcasts for free. And there are the most incredible people out there. And you can start to surround yourself with these people and with these ideas. There are YouTube videos, there are books, there are Instagram accounts. There are so many ways where you can very consciously choose and pick who you want to surround yourself with. This is an important one, because just as well as you can follow and listen to people that you find really helpful and inspirational and that resonate with you, you can also disconnect from people that don't make you feel good. So if there's an Instagram account that is triggering you every time you look at it, you look at the story or you look at the posts, well, why do you still follow this account? Just mute it or unfollow it, Do you actually have that power? This is really, really important, because all of these little pieces actually have a tremendous impact on us. So I want you to think about, who do you currently surround yourself with? How does it make you feel? What is the energy behind that? And then, do you choose to continue to surround yourself with that person, or do you choose to shift and change some things? As I'm even talking out loud about all of these different things, I'm already thinking about, well, Reve unfortunately does not live in Lake Tahoe anymore. And so I'm already thinking, as I'm saying these things out loud, well, who is somebody else that loves to work out and that has this like go-getter energy that I love so, so much? Who can I surround myself more with to actually continue to be in this habit? I have this habit at the moment. I am working out every single day, not 3 hours, but I am, and I'm very proud of that. And yeah, there's always people that I can surround myself more with as well. So we talked about the books, the podcasts, the YouTube videos, the Instagram accounts, probably the TikToks as well. Let's talk about coaching. Let's talk about therapy. I just told you, I invested in a coach, changed my life in a short couple of weeks already. And I have still 10 months to go, which is so exciting. I can't wait to see who I'm going to be in 10 months from now. So, so exciting. So invest in yourself. The investment I made in that coach was a huge monetary value, but it was not the money that I gave that coach. It was the money that I gave to myself. And I am worth it. And I mean, one of the things that I've been thinking about over the last couple of weeks is how much money we invest in education, how much money we invest in a bachelor degree and a master degree, especially here in the US, right? And think about how much actual coaching you get during that process. Zero. There's not a person next to you, a mentor, that actually tells you what you do is right and what you do is wrong, or gives you feedback on how you can improve and get better. This is what a coach does. A coach focuses just on you. I mean, so invaluable. Doesn't matter how big that investment actually is, honestly. It's not a 1-year thing. You can't measure this in a year's time, because you will learn tools and skills for a lifetime that you will always have access to for the rest of your life. It will shape you to be a new person. So I love that so much. We talked about invest in a coach. Your friend group. I'm just looking here at my notes. This is probably the last thing I want to talk about. So your friend group, right? So ask yourself, who do you surround yourself with? Who are your friends? Are they inspiring to you? Are they not so inspiring to you? And, this was something that took me a super, super long time here in Tahoe, to be honest with you. I knew a lot of people, and I had some girlfriends that I would see now and then and that I would talk to now and then, but it just didn't feel genuine. And I didn't feel like a real friendship, like maybe I'm used to from Germany or from Europe. Maybe it's a little bit of a different friendship culture. And so I always felt a little empty and lonely in that regard, to be fully transparent with you. And it took me a really, really, really long time to find the right people. I actually just had a conversation about that with another dear friend of mine who's a little bit in the same space as me, as I was a few years ago. Now I have an incredible friend group and I'm so, so excited and so, so grateful for my girls. It took me a while to get to know them and to meet them. But now I have the most coolest friend group on the planet, and they are so reliable, and they are the exact friends that I've always wanted to have. They are inspirational, they're go-getters, and they make me be a better person because I can talk to them about the most important things in my life and about difficult things and about fun things and about successful things. And they are there along the way for the whole ride. And it's just so cool. So ask yourself, who do you surround yourself with? Ask yourself, are you desperate to meet new people, but it may be not always working out for you? Trust the process is the thing that I can tell you there. It took me a long time. I've lived here in Tahoe for 5 years until I actually got to meet the people that are now in my friend group. 5 years, long time. And I've, of course, met a lot of other people along the way, but none of the people that I met in the first 5 years are now part of that friend group. Because we were just not aligned. We just had different interests, and they had a different definition of friendship. And that was just not enough for me. I want my girls to be close to me. I want to talk to my friends almost daily and know what they're up to and how they're doing. So who do you surround yourself with? Be careful who you surround yourself with. It is so powerful, because 99% of your success and 85% of your happiness depends on your reference group. That's all I wanted to share with you today. I hope this resonated. I hope it sparked some new ideas and some new thoughts around your group of people that you surround yourself with, and how you can choose maybe a little bit more wisely in the future. I am so grateful for you that you took the time to listen to my podcast today. So thank you so much for being here with me. It's such a pleasure. And if you listen to this podcast episode and you feel deeply inclined to share this with someone that you know would really resonate with this information as well, please share this podcast episode with them. I am really grateful that you're doing that. And I know that you're doing that because I have been getting a lot more downloads on the podcast over the last couple of months. And it's just beautiful to see how we can reach more people that way, and how we can impact more people that way, and how we can help more people that way by simply listening to information and getting some new ideas into our beautiful minds. And if you have been listening to the podcast for a while now and you have never left me a 5-star review on Apple iTunes, then I would so appreciate it if you would take a minute or two, because that's all it takes, if you would just leave me a review and let me know how you like this podcast. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your light. Thank you for learning all of these different tools and changing your life for the better. I appreciate you so much, and I really do hope to hear you or see you in the next podcast episode. Until then, take good care of yourself and talk soon.